Hello aspirants, welcome back to the daily news analysis of the Hindu. So this is a free initiative brought to you by Transform IAS Academy. In this particular video session, we shall be looking into the articles which shall be extremely important for the civil service exam, most importantly for the prelims and mains. So let us begin with our discussion for 2nd of January 2019. So the first news here is with respect to the Modi rules out ordinance on Ram temple for now. So basically this is with respect to Mr. Modi, where there was certain demand to the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, where he wanted to use the ordinance power. That's purely onto the issue of the Ayodhya, the Ram temple. So now it is a confirmation to what we are being getting from the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, where he made it very clear that any of the decisions of trying to bring about the ordinances was purely after the judicial process has got over. So here the people demand was with respect to getting the ordinance on the construction of the Ram temple. But what Mr. Modi says here is that the Prime Minister is saying that to whatever, if you all really wanted an ordinance to be passed, that would be coming only after the judiciary procedure has been over. So here he also made a statement that any sort of a solutions which respected to the issues whatever has been happening right now, this would be found to where it will completely fill up with the procedures and after the ambit of the constitution itself. So whatever they wanted to do, the ordinance, they purely to follow the constitutional ambit. So here, since the Supreme Court is involved, let the Supreme Court give its final verdict and later part they would be discussing to what has to be done. And one organization which is called as Sangh Parivar organizations, so they are extremely been very unhappy over the delay in actually getting resolved with the Ram temple. So that is one of the reasons, like the Sangh Parivars, they are asking for the ordinance which they wanted to do it, and they also referred to the Triple Talaq bill when the ordinance was being given. So here what is the statement which has been questioned on to Mr. Modi is that, so you have already given the ordinance for Triple Talaq and why not to Ram temple? But here the explanation comes like this, which means that here the Triple Talaq ordinance to whatever was being brought was after the Supreme Court verdict. Since the verdict was already been delivered and after that is what they brought the ordinance out here. Since here the Ram temple issue still been under it, so hearing is going to happen on Jan 4th, that is day after tomorrow. So after that, so once the verdict has been given, only then they will be able to finalize. So here the main thing what one should know is that the present government is not ready to pass any of the ordinance unless and until the judiciary procedures has got over. So this is a one confirmation which is being coming from the Prime Minister of India. So this is about it, and this plays a very important role for the prelims and the mains examination, not the issue but the term called ordinance. So what is ordinance? So ordinance is something where it is taking a position under the Article 123. Right. So this is purely the President of India is the one who has to pass this ordinance power, but the recommendation should come from the Council of Ministers. That would be headed by the Prime Minister. So this ordinance is purely for any of the urgent decision if they wanted to take, then they would be able to take. And you should also know that this is also connected to the budget session, the monsoon and the winter. We know that the Parliament actually comes into and they meet in their three different sessions, that is budget, monsoon and winter. So whenever the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are not able to get formed, only then is when the ordinances would be made by the President on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers on the urgent matters. So on limelight of it, there are again certain limitations which has to be done. So based on the limitations only they would be able to perform it. So this is about the topic what you have to surface it on the Lakshmikant book, which is on the ordinance making power of the President of the India. So that is purely under the Article 123. So this one we have already dealt in the earlier as well, what is ordinance and Ram temple in detail. You can just go through with that and you can get the confirmations for the same. So this is all about it. And here we have the news which talks on India-Pak move towards the release of civilian prisoners. So this is basically with respect to the civilian prisoners. So here it is basically with respect to the civilian prisoners, that is now India and Pakistan have now come up with the exchange of the list of the prisoners in both countries, let's say Pakistan and India. So it is a high time where both the countries have asked, that is especially India has asked the Islamabad to take back the dozens of Pakistan nationals who have actually been finished with their jail terms. And if we see this one, exchange of the list of prisoners is actually been performed yesterday, that is on the new year of 2019. So this was as per the agreement of 2008. So the Pakistan prisoners in India, as you can see from this snap, which shows that there are 249 civilian prisoners and 98 fishermen. But what the Indian prisoners are being deported in Pakistan are 54 civilian prisoners and 483 fishermen. So out of this, the 80 Pakistani prisoners await repatriation, and here India's Hamid Ansari and the Pakistan's Imran Warsi were freed in December 2018. So this person was latestly there in the news. So even this person has been freed as of now. So here this is a issue to what you have to know. And apart from that, the Delhi has also asked the Islamabad to release the 17 civilian prisoners and also the 369 fishermen whose nationality has been confirmed. So whenever they wanted to release, they have to confirm with the nationality, and this is also a kind of a procedure to what both the countries actually executed for expediting with a person who has been deported back into their countries. So this is one of the informations, and now they are saying that now India has also shared the details of reconstituted Joint Judicial Committee, and also the medical professionals who are actually being expected to visit Pakistan to help the elderly and mentally unsound Indian prisoners. So this is a judicial committee, joint judicial committees and doctors. Now they would be heading towards the Pakistan so that they wanted to understand the situation and give the help and needed to the people of the people who are very elderly and mentally unsound in the Indian prisoners. So this is what they are actually been looking on to do it of as of now. So this is all about it. So these were the informations that one should know with pertaining to the the expeditions of India, which has actually been moving to release the civilian prisoners. So this is all about it. And this news is with respected to under page 4, which talks on the parliamentary committee hiked by the state's insensitivity to the Western Ghats. So this is purely a news which is on to the Western Ghats, and this is purely where they wanted to earmark the no-go zones. So this no-go zones is actually having a coverage of nearly 56,000 kilometers of ESA, that is ecologically sensitive areas in the Western Ghats. So here they wanted to earmark these areas to be called as no-go zones because of the sensitivity of this particular Western Ghats. And moreover, this was purely where they wanted to have a proper a kinds of an earmarking, and they wanted to have a proper ecological sensitive areas because of the recent floods and the parts of Karnataka which had floods. And this is one of the alarming bells, which is a high time that the Western Ghats countries, the states, they need to really focus to be call it as a no-go zones. So here what is the issue is all about is that now the 56,000 kilometers of the ecologically sensitive areas in the Western Ghats could not be earmarked. So what they wanted to be as an earmarked of no-go zone is still not being earmarked, and the reason being is that the state government is sensitive over the issues, and this is what the parliamentary committee had to say about it. So here the state government is very insensitive. They're not taking the sensitivity of the Western Ghats and how it has to really be protected under the ecologically sensitive areas. So taking this into consideration, now the panel has really urged the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change to constitute a kind of a committee where they would be purely addressing the issues and grievances of the local people. So again, as we discussed, the recent monsoons and floods in the Kerala has really given a kind of an alarming signs to what had happened in Kerala and Karnataka. So here, even in spite of that, the administrations of the states like Goa, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, which are actually the belt of the East Western Ghats, have failed to mark the ESA, that is the ecologically sensitive areas. So this is what they are trying to say here, that now the parliamentary committee has been urging and it's been alluring that the state governments of the Western Ghats are really very insensitive about the Ghats. So the panel will also examine the issues whether regarding the categorization of the Western Ghats. So this is as per the ecologically sensitive areas, as per the recommendations of the two committees, and the two committees are being led by one Mr. Madhav Gadgil and the second is Kasturi Rangan. So these are the two important people who have been led up with the two committee. And moreover, you should also know that the insensitivity towards the ecology of the Western Ghats is actually making the 6 states vulnerable to floods and landslides as well. If they're really not going to take any of the steps, they're going to be more vulnerable. As of now, they're very vulnerable. So the committee is of the main view that they wanted to implement the recommendation to what the Kasturi Rangan committee had actually given, and they wanted to make it more possible and take a supportive action or support from the local population. So if they get it, and that should be consulted with the state government as well. So that is the main key what they have to do. This is purely the objective of saving the Western Ghats from any further due of the devastation. So this is all about it, and the panel has also examined like 62 assurances where they would be purely on deliberations with the various state governments and other organizations as well. So they are also been visiting the states heads, that is Pune, Mumbai, Chennai, Bengaluru, even before preparing this particular report. So this is all about it. So you should know that it is almost together of 56,000 kilometers of ecologically sensitive areas, and you should know like which are the Western Ghats states. So these are the ones. So what is all about it, what are the channels, and what is the committee which has been set up, and what are they trying to do actually when it comes to the essay. So that's all about it. So this becomes a very important part for your general studies paper 3 of the environment, and as well for the preliminary. See, this news under page 7 is on cinereous vulture seen in Jharkhand. So this is one of the migratory bird. So this is rarely seen only in few places, but here they have now come up with a kinds of in this particular vulture which is distinctly dark larged bird. So here you can see that. So it's called as cinereous vulture, which is a black tipped pink beak. So this actually migrates from the mountainous regions of Europe and Asia to the warmer place. The warmer place is in India, which is including India, which has been there. So while early records of this migratory bird have been revealed that it is now also seen in few parts, which is to be seen in the Rajasthan northern parts, but the bird watchers also witnessed this in Jharkhand as well, that is Hazaribagh. So this is where they have actually seen. So this is one of the migratory bird vulture, the species which you have to know. So it is called as in cinereous vulture, and you should know very importantly to what is the category they belong to. So here they have been classified under the IUCN red list to be as a near threatened, and this was one of the 3 other endangered species of the vultures. So we have totally 3 species of vultures. So out of that, this is one among them. So this has been witnessed, and this is a migratory bird, and you can also see the signs of the migratory bird which is actually being seen it out here. And the next news is here, which talks on NHRC seeks the report on student suicides in Navodaya Vidyalayas. So this is actually the NHRC, that's the National Human Rights Commission, which actually served the notice to the HRD ministry. And this notice was purely on to the report of the suicides of nearly 49 students of the residential Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas, that is over the 5 years. So nearly from the 5 years, there are nearly 49 students who have actually committed the suicides. So taking the suo motu cognizance into consideration of the media report, the 49 students have actually committed the suicides on the JNV campus between 2013 to 2017. So this is why the NHRC have now and asked the secretary of the Ministry of the report to give a report within 6 weeks to why has this been done. So it asked whether the trained counselors were being available for the students, and what kind of a dedicated staffs were being ensured for the students, and why they were being left alone, and what was an emergency and assistance given for the students who have been committing for suicides. So here nearly half of them were purely belonging to the Dalit and the tribal communities. So this is becoming more fishy, and majority of them were the boys. So this is except 7 where suicides by hanging was done, and the bodies were found either by classmates or the school staff. So this is how the entire history of all the 49 students who have been died in the Navodaya Vidyalayas between 2013 to 17 has actually been recorded so far. So based on this, now the central government should give the report to the with respect to NHRC based on the talented children from the rural India. So this is all about like right, they will be setting up and taking with those kinds of students who will be talenting, especially from the rural Indias. But it is also witnessing a high number of the suicides over the time. So this is all about it. And in the business column, we have this news which talks on the GST collections down for the 2nd month in row. So this is basically with respect to the collections of the GST, which has actually been declined for the 2nd month. and the decline is with respect to almost like 94,726 crores in the month of December, and this was compared with the November months, which has shown around 97,637, wherein this itself was lower compared to the October month. In October it was almost like 1,710 is what had been taken, but if you see after that in the month of April 2018 it was almost like 1,03,459. so you can see the fluctuation to what has been seen in this particular chart. The April month was somewhat fine, May, June, July, August, September, consequently they were being completely very down, wherein in the month of October it increased, in November it decreased, and December it is decreasing more. So this is actually giving a kind of an bit of discouragement over the time with respect to the GST collection. So you have the breakage out here to how the GST collection has actually been done. So it was on GST, SGST and IGST. So this is with respect to it, and they're also stating that this will actually may deter the government from rationalizing the rate of goods which has actually been left out in the 28 category, like the cement, auto parts, etc. in the short terms. So moreover, when the 31st meeting in the December month to whatever the GST council had it, they also planned that they wanted to cut the rates on 17 items and 6 types of the services as well. So this would be leaving just one common use item, that is a cement, which would be with a tax bracket of nearly 28%. So all the rates to whatever we just spoke on the 31st meeting of the GST council, so these new rates will be coming into effect from 1st of January 2019, that is from yesterday. So this is about the basics, and this is with respect to, so here what you have to know is that this is being coupled with a recent growth in the income tax collections, which gives a clear indication that the 6 tax base is been expanding. So since the tax base has been expanding, this is one of the reasons to why the collections has been gone down, but there is a good number of decent growth in the income tax collection. Even this particular report on the income tax was being seen earlierly. The collection of the income tax has been pretty good, but just that the tax base has been increasing, and that is one of the reasons to why the tax collection is actually not been working as compared to the earlier past. So this is all about it. So one should know about like why the GST collection has been drastically down, and you don't have to memorize anything. You know the trend of UPSC as of now. So anything from these kinds of columns, there are certain questions. So repeatedly there is a dip in the GST collection, you have to say, if they say like consequently from 2 months from wherever you have your prelims examination from the month of June, so date back to it, just see the calculation for 6 months. So that would be more than sufficient to understand with that whether it's been increasing or decreasing, right? So this is an important part of your GS paper 3. And the second news item here we have is the GST, that is the government has been notifying with the new GST return forms. So this is purely where the government notified with the annual GST return forms, where they wanted to be done with a required, and they wanted to be filled by the businesses which has been registered under the goods and services regime, and this should be coming into effect as by June 30, 2019. So the annual return, what they have to fill on is purely onto the consolidated details of the sales, the purchase, and also the input tax credit, that is the ITC benefited, which would be accrued to them during the financial year of 2017 and 18. The new annual GST return forms to whatever has been there, so the businesses have to mandatory fill this particular forms, and this is purely with respect to CBIC, that's the Central Board of Income, Indirect Taxes and Customs, which would be coming into effect from December 31st, 2018, where it notified a form to be as GSTR 9, GSTR 9A and GSTR 9C. So this is all about it. So this is again a very minute news, so you don't have to memorize anything as such. It's just that a knowledge purpose you can know about like what is the changes which has been happening on pertaining to the GST. So this is about it. And down here we have another coverage which talks on the Reserve Bank relaxes the debt recast norms for MSME. So this is purely with respect to following that the demand from the government is that they wanted to have a debt recast package, and this debt recast package is purely for the MSMEs, that's a micro, small and medium enterprises, where the RBI has relaxed the provision, and this provisioning norms is purely for the lenders for restructuring the loans, and that restructuring loans of the one which would be limited up to 25 crores. So this is about like where the RBI has now come up with a relaxed provision for the MSME by the debt recast package, and that would be purely for the lenders of the restructuring loans of up to 25 crores. And this would be basically on the default by standard as of 1st of Jan 2019. So the banks here, what they can do is that the banks have to make only 5% provisioning for restructuring the loans as compared to 15 to 20% earlierly. So now the provisioning, a set aside of the amount what the bank should follow now is just 5% and not 15 to 20%. So why they have actually taken this move is because the MSME is being hit severely because of demonetization and implementation of the GST. If the bank's provisioning is more, then the lenders, that the banks would not give much of the loans to the MSME. So the MSME sectors can be affected in much more larger aspects. So that is one of the reasons to why now the RBI has reduced its norms and made them to have a provision of only 5% as compared to 15 to 20%, so that the MSMEs would be getting a good number of the coverage of the loans to what they have to get, and the eligibility would be around up to 25 crores. And the above issue to whatever has been examined in the RBI is been taken into the view that it wanted to give a proper meaningful restructuring to the MSME accounts that have become more stressed as of now. So they wanted this move to be more meaningful, and the restructuring has been implemented by March 31st of 2020. So this is what the RBI had to give a confirmation to by when it should be implemented, by 31st of March 2020. So that's it. Again, this is all the repetitive of the news to what you have been actually witnessing on a day-to-day basis from the Hindu newspaper. So this is again the same thing, and this is again what one should know in perspective from the MSME. What are the other developments which are actually happening in MSMEs? So this was all about it. And on the last page, we didn't have any of the prominent news, which is purely for the UPSC aspects. And in the other business column, we didn't have any of the prominency as well. So that's it. By this we have come to the end of the video. So these were the important articles that one should focus for the prelims and the mains examination. Hope this particular video would have helped you in your preparation. So work hard until you accomplish. Thank you and have a very nice day.